Oh, looks like it's time to refill my coffee. Oh man, are we out of coffee? Well, how am I supposed to get any work done now? Looks like I'll have to think of something else. So we ran out of coffee back at the office, which is a bit unfortunate because, like a lot of Americans, I can't really seem to get a lot done in the morning without several cups. But instead of going all the way to the store, I figured just take a little walk and look for one of these trees right here. So this is a Kentucky coffee tree, Latin name Gymnocladus dioicus. And as the common name suggests, you can use the seeds of this tree to produce a coffee-like beverage. And this was done by several indigenous American cultures in our region, and also by colonial Southerners during times of poverty or war, when real coffee was too hard to come by or too expensive for most households. They would use this brew as a substitute or to add to what little coffee they could get to make it last longer, similar to chicory. So today we're going to give it a shot. So before we get to the coffee making, let's take a closer look at this thing because it is one of my favorite native trees. As you can see, it has this kind of gray, scaly bark with these fissures in it and this kind of reddish brown color underneath. Pretty rough surface texture, so as you can see, that makes it a very popular hangout spot for various mosses and lichens. These are alternately branched with these kind of knobby looking twigs. And if you look at the buds, you can see they're very small and kind of pushed into these little cavities. So they don't really stick out like other tree buds do. And if you feel them, they have this downy covering on top. So they're like fuzzy little buttons. The leaves fall off pretty early in the fall. So of course this tree is bare right now. But they are unique in that they are one of the few bipinnately compound leaves in Missouri. If you think of a walnut leaf, which is just regular compound, has a petiole with several leaflets, it's kind of like that, only each leaflet is its own compound leaf. It's really nice looking foliage. And these trees are dioecious, which means there are separate male and female plants. This one happens to be a female. So if we look around, there might be some fruits on the ground here we can find. Ah, bingo! There we go. So as you might be able to tell, this is in the legume family, the Fabaceae. It has these thick, leathery seed pods that look like beans. And they contain several seeds inside that we are going to use to make our coffee. So I'm going to see how many of these I can find and see if we can brew up some Kentucky coffee. So I managed to get a pretty good amount of pods off the coffee trees at work. And inside each one of these is a small handful of these smooth brown seeds surrounded by this sticky green goo that you probably don't want to eat. So I'm going to crack all these open, get as many of these seeds out of here as I can, clean off all the gunk, and proceed to roasting. So I got a pretty good handful of seeds, all those pods. Now I have my cleaned seeds in this old pot, so I'm going to cover them up. I have my oven heated to 300 degrees, so I'm going to stick them in and roast them for about 3 hours, and we'll see how they turn out. So our beans just got out of the oven. As you can see, some of them kind of exploded a little bit. So good thing I had that lid on. It doesn't really smell like roasted coffee beans. It's more like burnt toast. A little bit, so yeah. So I'm going to let these cool down a little bit and then grind them up. Here it is post grinding. Looks like coffee. It's got a nice fine texture to it. Looks pretty good. So I just finished grinding up the last of my seeds, and now I have just under a cup of fresh Kentucky coffee. It's all natural, it's organic, it's free range, locally produced, other such buzzwords. But it's actually pretty good looking, and it smells like coffee. You know, maybe like a cheaper brand coffee, but it's pretty good. With like, there's little hints of cocoa in there maybe, and you know, a little bit of a dirt smell, kind of an earthy scent, but overall pretty good. So yeah, this should be enough to brew a few cups to experiment with a little bit, and yeah, I'm optimistic at this point. Just got a couple tablespoons of our coffee ground in the old French press. Gonna get my water kettle, add some water to it. Ooh, yeah, look at that. Look how dark that is. So we're all done with our French press here, so we're going to go ahead and plunge it and pour it. Oh man, just went right through that like water. Oh boy. Alright, here we go. Cheers. Okay, so it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's not nearly as bad as people were telling me it was going to be. It kind of reminds me of like cheap, watery diner coffee. Like the very last cup of coffee that's left in the pot and it's been sitting there a while. It's got that little layer of sludge on the bottom and it tastes a little bit burnt. But it's okay. A little cream, maybe a little sugar, couldn't hurt, but it's okay. And it does still have that kind of earthy, cocoa-y undertone to it, so not bad. Worth a try anyway.